just as a church van was going by on the same road that I just flew off of. And all I could see was all these kids' faces and the driver looking over at me like this in the field. And all the kids are like, hands in the windows. Man, if they had YouTube when I was a kid, I'd have been a YouTube star. The crap I used to do and live through, even before I had a motorcycle. Climbing trees as tall as I could get up to. I remember falling out of them from the tippy top of some of these trees. And the only reason I'm alive is because it was in the woods and there's all kind of pine needles on the forest floor. And I hit flat on my back, knocked the wind out of myself, first time it ever happened. But I'm alive. I didn't break anything. Sled riding, daredevil style, because we lived out in the mountains and we'd build these huge toboggan runs. And I did have a rail sled, like a rosebud type sled, you know, with the rails on it. Rosebud. Old style sled. Those were good as long as the snow was hard. If the snow wasn't hard, you would use one of those old orange plastic toboggan sleds. And we'd build these runs with had sides and everything to them. And Dad would come out when it started to get dark after we had shaped it, and he would take the hose and he would just mist over the toboggan run. Imagine how fast you could go. So that's where I got my daredevil nature. My dad, he encouraged it. But we would do that. We'd have somebody standing at the road in case there was a car coming. And then as I got older and I got the motorcycle, that's when I started breaking bones. I broke my collarbone in 2 places right here because I thought it would be a good idea to try to jump a cement block on a board that was only this wide. And as I was going up the board, it flipped sideways, and so the motorcycle hit the cement block. I went ass over tin cups, flew through the air, landed on my face, knocked me out. The motorcycle followed me through the air, like end over end like this, and when it came down, the back wheel landed on my shoulder blade, and because I was face down, landed on my shoulder blade and my collarbone just exploded. So it was broken, like a piece had broken out of my collarbone. Your collarbone is about, you know, it's about this long. It goes between your shoulder socket and your breastbone, okay? A piece about that long snapped right out of the middle of it and was below it. I saw the x-ray. It hurt a lot. Went to the hospital after my dad told me I couldn't get on that motorcycle again all summer. But I wouldn't have been able to do it anyway because when you have a broken collarbone, you can't do this. You can't do that. You can't throw anything. You can't even stretch. And so I had to wear this thing. So I'm in elementary school, right? Or middle school. And I had to wear this thing that looked like I had a bra on because it's meant to hold your shoulders back. So imagine the torture that I went through in school when it looked like I was wearing a bra. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's not something that I ordinarily did. I also had broken toes, broken fingers on one hand from a tree that hit my hand as I was going through the woods. I hit the tree. And the next summer, I couldn't let that go by without breaking another bone. Looking at my potatoes. Let's check these. Not quite. Gotta be a little bit more done on some of those. The next summer, we went camping outside of town. Parents had a camper, a pull behind. And we were staying in a state campground. Well, across the road from the state campground in the forest, there were forestry roads and you could ride motorcycles, and in the winter you could ride snowmobiles. And so I thought that was great because I could explore all day. I had forestry maps, so I knew where the trails were. In order to get to some of these trails, you would have to ride the hardtop, which you probably weren't supposed to do, but you had to ride the hardtop to get to where you were going. One day I went out and it had just rained. And country roads, when you talk about the crown and the shoulder of a road, the crown of a road, the middle of the road is always higher in the middle so that the rain runs off the sides. Old paved roads had a much higher crown, as much as 4 to 6 inches higher in the middle than on the edges. Even on a curve, so you're going around a curve, the outside of the curve goes around like that. So you're gonna have less traction. And it had just rained. So I'm coming up to this corner, didn't realize how close I was to the corner, and I couldn't slow down enough without skidding the tire because I started to hit the brake and I started to skid, but I lost control of the bike, so I let go of the brake so I didn't slide on the asphalt. What I didn't know is that there's no guardrail, which is probably a good thing because it would have messed me up. But on the other side of where the road dropped off was a plowed field. And so I proceeded to Evel Knievel off the edge of the road, airborne. I don't remember saying wahoo, but when I hit, the nose of the motorcycle dug down into this plowed field, and as I was holding onto the handlebars, I went like that, and my head slammed on the crossbar of the handlebars, and it broke my nose. It's straight, but it broke my nose, and I had a compound fracture. The bone came out, and it busted through the skin right here. And I didn't know that, and I didn't pass out when I hit. But I stood up, and I had been bleeding, and I thought I did something to my eye because I couldn't see out of my eye. I gotta check the potatoes. Yeah, they're ready. Let's get those out of there. Put that over there. Oops, missed one. Clean up the little bit of oil that I got on the top of the stove. Put our temperature probe back in, wait for the temperature to get back to where it was. And when it is, we'll put the potatoes back in for the second part of the fry. So what was I saying? Where was I? Oh, I didn't get knocked out, but since my skin was bleeding, since I was bleeding, and it got in my eye, I thought I did something to my eye. So I was wearing this hoodie, and it was maroon color like this. And I had just taken it like this, and I'm wiping my eye out, and gradually I could see a little better. And this motorcycle was a trail bike, so I didn't have rear view mirrors or anything, so I couldn't see what I looked like. So I stood up, realized that the skin was broken on my nose, stood up, picked up the motorcycle, just as a church van was going by on the same road that I just flew off of. And all I could see was all these kids' faces and the driver looking over at me like this in the field. And all the kids are like, hands in the windows. As they go by me. So the church bus stops. The guy driving gets out, all the kids stay on the bus. He comes over to the side of the road, and I'm pushing my motorcycle over this plowed field back to the edge of the road so I can get it back up the bank and get it out. This guy helped me pull it up the side of the road, get back on. The motorcycle still ran. The handlebars were a little bent up, but it still worked. And I got it up to the road. He made sure I was okay. And he said, well, where are you staying? How far do you got to go? And I told him because it was just back down the road a little bit. And so he said, well, I'll go out ahead of you. Just follow me and then turn up when you get to the entrance to the campground. And I was appreciative of that. More now than then, because I had no idea how close to death I probably was. So the church van starts down the road. I'm following the church van, and all of a sudden the church van hits the brakes hard. And I was behind them probably 150 feet on a long stretch. The church van hits the brakes really hard and then stops. And I'm like, okay, now what did I do? So I stopped back where I was, and I'm waiting to see what this guy's gonna do. And then I see the brake lights go on and the reverse lights come on, and the church bus starts backing up. I'm like, oh, I'm in trouble for something. It starts backing up. And then it stops, and the driver's door opens, and the driver gets out, and he walks back up the road to me, and he goes, I stopped just now because while we were going by slow, a rattlesnake had jumped out of the rocks from the side of the road at the van. He said, if you would have been in front of us, it would have been jumping out at you. So I had no idea the danger that I avoided. Plus, he backed up so that he could run over the rattlesnake so it didn't try to get me after he had gone by, because it hit the side of the van and fell on the ground. That's why he backed up. So my life was spared twice that day. Don't get a motorcycle for your kid. Don't do it. Not good. I'm checking the oil temperature. There's actually more to that story. No, oil's not hot yet. So I get back to the campground. I know I'm gonna get in trouble. I go into they had like a little general store at the beginning of the campground, and they had a bathroom. So I go in the bathroom, I look at myself, and this is the first time I had seen myself. Which is why all the kids on the church bus were doing this when they went by. Took a look at myself, and I could see the gash on the side of my nose where the bone had popped out. And I had blood all down the side of my face. You couldn't see the blood on my hoodie because it was this color. So I got myself cleaned up, went back to the camper, and my dad takes a look at me. He goes, "What happened to you?" And I said, "Well," I said, "I was on the motorcycle and I went off the edge of the road into a field and I hit the handlebars pretty hard." And I can't remember exactly what he said, but it had the word dumbass in it. And he said, "I'll tell your mom." He said, "Don't do whatever you did." I'm like, all right. So I thought for sure he was going to take the motorcycle. Well, he didn't. So the evening goes on. We end up meeting up with some friends of theirs. So my camera died. But here's the rest of that story. So my family meets up with the neighbors who were staying in a campground across the street. So we go over there. It's getting about dusk. So the light's still there, but not really. So we're all standing around the campfire. There's still a little bit of light in the sky, but the campfire's flickering in the background. And my dad's talking to their friends, and then he looks at me and he gives me a long, hard stare. And he goes, "Your nose is busted," while he's looking at me. And I'm feeling my nose. I'm like this. "Well, it hurts." I'm like, "How do you know it's busted?" He goes, "Because it's crooked." And my dad had been through a lot of crap in his life, and he had his nose broken a couple of times before, so he knows what that looks like and what it feels like. And so I didn't know, but apparently my nose was like a little bit cocked over to this one side. So I'm there going like this with it, and I'm feeling it, and it hurt, but I could feel that it wasn't quite right. Right here at the bridge of your nose, there's a bump there because that's where the cartilage connects into your skull bone right here. And I could feel it was rough under there. It wasn't quite right. He goes, "Come on, we got to leave early. We got to go into town, go to the hospital." And the ride into town is like 45 minutes. And what I know now, and what I had seen on TV up until then, is if that your nose is broken, and it's broken and it starts to heal in the wrong position, they have to re-break it. And while you're conscious. And I was having all these visions go through my head, and I'm like, I can't let that happen. So I'm feeling my nose, and unintentionally, I squeezed and pulled down, and it made the most awful crunch noise inside my head because it's bone on bone. It's called crepitus. And so it made this awful crunch noise, and it hurt when it first happened, but then it felt better, a lot better right afterwards. And I was saying to my dad, I said, "I'm not sure we got to go to the hospital." He goes, "No, we're going to the hospital." So we go back across the street and up the hill to where our other campground was. We get in the vehicle. We ride 45 minutes into town. We go to the hospital. The orthopedic surgeon just happened to be on rotation in the ER. And he's actually, his son actually went to school with me. And so he asked me what happened. They lay me down on this hospital bed, and they put this cloth over my face so only my nose was sticking out. And I felt him, he was palpating my nose like this. And he's asking me what happened, and I'm waiting for him to do what I know he's gonna do, because I was absolutely sure he was gonna take a hold of my nose and he was gonna go crunch really quick and move it to where he thought it should be. But he got done feeling my nose, and then he stops and he goes, "It's pretty straight." He says, "It's broken, but it's straight." So I had unintentionally fixed my own nose in the wild. I was officially a mountain man that day because I fixed my own nose. Now, they still had to put stitches in it, and then you can see the stitches. I don't know if you can see them, where I had a scar right there. But they still had to put stitches in it, and my eye was black for weeks after that. But I didn't have to have my nose rebroken, so that's the rest of that story. Do me a favor, like and subscribe. It helps get the message out to more people, and it lets other people know that some of these stories might have been interesting. Well, I'm still here. Thanks.